for Twist, the week in sports talk with your hosts Mike Reeves, Matt Benz, and Greg Green Bay Bowman. Coming live from the Minuteman Press studio, here's your hosts.
What up?
Back home.
Feels good.
On location last week. One thing I noticed, guys, is we were sitting wrong last week when I was rewatching the deal. For you guys that don't know and can't see, we're sitting behind our logo in proper order. We could squeeze in, so we were closer. But we're pumped to be back. We got an exciting show. Couple guests. One to start the show, Frank Ragnow of the Detroit Lions. And then we're going to end the show with good old Dave Sinykin of Packer Preview. The head cheese.
Mug Sinykin.
So let's give Frank a call, see if he answers. We'll kick off the show with him.
Caller 10.
Hello?
Frank?
With the 20th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Frank Ragnow, center, Arkansas.
Woo! What up, Frank? How you doing today, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Great.
Doing well. Happy to have you on. Thanks for coming.
No problem.
So you hunkering down today like the rest of us?
No, I'm on about.
All
Are
right.
you?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm a native Miss, so we only got like 4 or 5 inches out where I live, so it's not really too bad. So I'm about to go get a workout.
There you go.
Speaking of workout, what are you doing this off season?
Well, right now it's so soon that I haven't really established a good workout plan. I'm still kind of just recovering from the season and whatnot, but I'm just kind of working out to stay in shape and just to feel good about myself, I guess.
There you go. That's awesome. So on an average day, are you still going to have to keep up a proper eating regimen, or are you just cheating and just eating whatever you want right now?
No, so I'm going to Costa Rica in February. So I'm trying to get, cut a little bit of the love handles and look somewhat decent for the beach. So that's the only regimen right now I'm on, is trying to look a little better.
Awesome.
Nice. Hey, Frank, my dad has been coaching high school football for the past 40-plus years. He played offensive guard in college. And so being the son of that, I have a lot of, different questions about, your generation and that. And what I'm wondering is, at what point in high school did your phone ring and you realized, wow, this whole thing is real? I'm going to college and I'm going to play football in college. Who called you to make that, that dream a reality?
I was set on it. As a child, my dream was to play college football. So after my freshman year in high school, I literally probably sent an email to every school in the country, just trying to get my name out there, and never really got any emails back. But then I went to one camp in high school, and it was the Minnesota Golden Gopher camp, and it was me and my dad went down for the day, and I did the camp and whatnot, and I wasn't really recognized as a prospect at that point, but then after the camp, Jerry Kill grabbed my dad and I, and they took us through a tour and everything, and sat me down and talked about how they'd have so much pride in keeping the best prospects in the state in Minnesota and whatnot, and they offered me a scholarship. And it still didn't hit me there, but me and my dad were just driving home, and we just started freaking out, hysterically laughing, crying, just what just happened. It was a really cool moment with my dad too. So it was special.
Awesome. That is awesome.
So for you guys watching and listening, we have Frank Ragnow. He's a Minnesota native, played football in Chanhassen. He was the 24th best offensive tackle in the nation, 4-star recruit. And like he just mentioned, they were trying to get him one of the best in the state. I believe you were third ranked in the state, ended up going on to play for Arkansas, and you were selected 20th in the NFL draft. So speaking of the draft, going through, I'm always curious how that whole process goes. Do you remember, what the weirdest question they asked you was?
I didn't really get many weird questions. They were pretty straight up with you. I think the weird questions go for like the higher prospect guys or the guys with maybe different character questions and whatnot.
Sure.
Yeah, offensive lineman from Minnesota, I think they could probably trust you. So
How much time do you spend on
I
this?
didn't really get grilled from that point.
There you go. So then I got a question for you, Frank. What does it feel like to wake up in the morning a millionaire?
do you sleep in the money?
It's weird, because I'm 23, and it's just how do you even describe that? It's ridiculous. I really try to live a lifestyle and act like I'm not a millionaire in the most way possible, so that I can just kind of invest that money and save that money and set myself up and set my kids up for the future.
Yeah, that's smart, man. I really do. For the viewers listening and watching, I mean, obviously you were referred to me by one of your family members, Carrie Ragnow, who is a great supporter of this show, huge fan. We appreciate Carrie. I actually used to work with Carrie, and she and the Ragnow family, her son as well, Kurt, I mean, they have really helped me in my life, pushing me to succeed. So that's just a shout out to the Ragnow family and offering up you to be on. I mean, your family is one of a kind, so we do appreciate that. The next question I got for you is a little off the football side. What are your favorite Minnesota lakes to fish?
Mille Lacs, obviously that's a staple.
Yeah.
Look, I grew up with a pontoon on Waconia, so we fished that like as a family. Steiger Lake in Victoria.
Okay.
Lake Bavaria, Lake Minnetonka. There's Lake Pearson. I love to fish.
I know you
so
do.
Really anywhere.
Can you give us a little plug on the Grizzly Man Outdoors quick?
Oh, no doubt. Grizzly Man Outdoors, aka the future of outdoors. Just kidding. It's like a hobby of my brother and mine. We just like to make. The goal one day is after football to have my own fishing show. So right now we're just kind of making YouTube videos of us just fishing and hunting and just kind of having a good time in the outdoors.
Walking through the ice.
Yeah, that one really kind of blew up on me.
No doubt.
I wasn't really ready for. Yeah, I wasn't really ready for that. A lot of people thought like I had fallen in this year, and I guess I didn't do a good job explaining that it was a video from a while ago.
I thought it was when it was on 3 days ago. I undoubtedly thought you were getting a call from the Lions. Frank, what are you doing?
Yeah, maybe not my smartest move.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Greg, go ahead.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So Frank, when I was reading your bio and reading about you, one of the things that really drew similarities, I'm from southeastern Wisconsin. You remind me a lot of Joe Thomas in his early, throughout college and his early career, just how you're really down to earth. And do you attribute that to your Midwestern upbringing, being an offensive lineman where you're not going to be the guy with the microphone in your face, or just the way you were raised? Because it's just the similarities were just uncanny.
Funny story, Joe, he actually called me the day of draft day, wishing me luck and reaching out to me because we've got some familiarities with my agent and then Brett Bielema, obviously. But he's a great dude. He's a guy I know that I can call and pick up the phone and he'll give me advice. So that's pretty cool. But I just think it's my upbringing, my parents. I had the greatest parents in the world. So I think they raised me the right way, and I take a lot of pride in having great parents like that. And then I don't really have a desire to be a so-called celebrity or whatnot. I just want to be a normal guy who likes to hunt and fish and play football.
Beautiful.
So I want to circle back around to the draft here in 1 second, but Greg just mentioned he's from Wisconsin, so he's our cheesehead aficionado on the show. He's got his scrub Packers on here, so he likes to feel like he's part of the guys. We know you're a Lion, and we'll it's okay.
Yeah, it is okay.
But you are a Minnesota homer, so we do love that. So when Greg's asking you questions, I just want you to know, he's wearing Packers stuff right now. So circling back to the draft, I know Matt mentioned it. I wanted to do a Wonderlic test for the three of us to kind of compare, and I didn't know if you remembered your score doing the Wonderlic. And for the listeners that might not know what that is, maybe explain it for us.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't really give us our scores, but it's basically like just like random tests about random knowledge, math questions, problem-solving questions, kind of multiple choice, quick. I think it was 50 questions, and you're timed. It's just kind of like a general, simple IQ test.
Yes.
So you don't know your score. We know ours and who we scored the same as. So Greg, why don't you?
I got it right here. Took the test on Thursday. Had to get in the office just so I wouldn't be disrupted. And it's 50 questions in 12 minutes. I got a 34, and I was
What the?
I think that's pretty good.
That's fucking. Oh, I cussed.
okay.
Oh, here we go.
You may
That's
not know
ridiculous.
You may not know this by looking at me, but I'm actually pretty intelligent.
Well, apparently Ryan Tannehill's a
Tannehill.
moron.
Ryan Tannehill is who I got the same score as.
Good God.
Whatever.
I did.
I'll go next since he cheated somehow.
How did I cheat?
Typical Green Bay fan.
Yeah, he cheated.
So my score was 18.
Son of
a humble
Ooh, that's
18.
tough. That's tough.
But hey, it says that I'm smarter than Eddie Lacy.
which I got the same score as a 17.
So I'm middle of the pack. I'll take that. Yeah, some of those questions on that were like, if Tweedledee knows Tweedledum and Tweedledum knows Tweedleshmee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what is going
It's
on?
a weird test, man.
It was
I don't
very
really
weird.
understand it, but
No, I don't know
do what I'm told.
I don't know what that has to do with football, but
Well, it's
yeah.
the first thing these guys have beaten me since we've started the show. Apparently, it doesn't take a good Wonderlic score to beat these buttholes in fantasy football. And
I might say a lot of stupid things in the show, but I am a college graduate.
yeah. All right, here he goes. There he goes.
Bravo.
Yeah. We'll give him the
Whatever,
Greg.
Greg.
Well, Frank, I mean, I appreciate you being on our show today. I appreciate you just chopping it up with us, hanging out with the boys. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And as season gets closer, maybe we can touch base again, just see how your, preseason's going and things like that. We are always in debt to you. So we greatly appreciate that.
All right, I appreciate you guys having me on. Terry went on and on about you, Matt, and raved about how great of a guy you are, so it made it simple. But we definitely got to stay in touch, and I'd love to be back on if you ever had me.
Oh, absolutely. You can find Frank on Twitter at Knarf Wangar.
Or just his name backwards.
Yeah.
Again, thanks, Frank. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Hey, have a good workout, Frank. Talk to you later, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How
Frank
awesome is that?
Ragnow of the Detroit Lions.
Not to harp on any of our other guys that have been on the show, but that is crazy for a 7th episode of our show to have an NFL stud, homegrown, the real deal. And some of the guests we have coming up in the future are awesome as well. So that's huge. Thank you, Carrie, for saying all those nice things about me. Like I said, the Ragnows are awesome.
I don't know where she got that information, but
Facts. All right. Headlines for the week. First headline, I'm just going to edit this one in really quick. I scored higher than Mike on the Wonderlic.
And I scored
That
twice as
should
best.
be in the papers. Beautiful. All right. First headline of the week. Jeff Teague and Travion Graham traded to the Atlanta Hawks for Alan Crabb. Gerson Rosas says, I think big picture, it's just a different game. The way he plays this system is maybe not as complementary to him in that we need our lead guard to be a guy who pushes tempo and is more of a creator than a scorer. So who we got was Alan Crabb. Crabb is a 6'6" shooting guard. He shoots the three ball pretty good. Basically, from what I can see, is that it was kind of crappy contract.
Expirings,
Yeah, but really it was just getting kind of the infection, if I can say that,
You can.
of a Jeff Teague out of the picture. You know, a guy that doesn't dish cat the ball, doesn't push the tempo up, dribbles it down until there's about 7 seconds left on the shot clock, and then we have to force things and put up bad shots. So, Alan Crabb, welcome to the team.
Welcome.
Second one we got is, if you'll notice this hat, it's 2017 World Series title. Yeah, a lot of that in the news right now. Astros fire AJ Hinch and GM Jeff Lunau. Also, Red Sox fire Alex Cora and Mets let go Carlos Beltran amid sign-stealing scandal. The investigation found that Astros players and employees would monitor opposing catchers' signals using a camera in center field of the team stadium and then relay the signals to their hitters by banging on a trash can. It's wild, man. And then also Cora, then a coach with the team, arranged for a video room technician to install a monitor displaying the camera feed just outside the Astros dugout. So MLB is burning to the ground right now.
Yeah, it is.
Just to see all the scandal and seeing now what are the players that are going to get penalized. You never know. It's crazy. Also, there's just a lot of people coming out saying crazy stuff like that they were wearing, you know, vibrating like
Buzzers.
Yeah. To notify, which if you look at the stats, ESPN's doing a lot of that, and they're showing like some of the star hitters of the Astros at home, they're batting crazy numbers, and then away they're not doing as well. Well,
one of the players was holding his shirt down rounding home, so when they celebrated, so when they celebrated with him, his shirt wouldn't go up and kind of show it, and it looked weird at the time, but going back to it now.
Yeah,
sure.
he said the reason for that was that he's a very humble person, and his wife told him before that it would be embarrassing for him to have an untucked shirt on national TV, which seems a little far-fetched to be able to think about that in the moment.
Yeah. Oh, my wife said, whatever.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. Also, you know, you got to think about Justin Verlander being on that team and, you know, future Hall of Famer. Is that going to blemish his career? Things like that. So I got this when they won it, and I'm glad I did because it's a story. So,
yes, it is.
Third headline, we got Odell Cashgate, we're going to call it.
Ooh.
Here's
what about Buttgate?
Yeah, we'll get there. So for the Cashgate, this was a post right here. It says, we are aware of the situation regarding Odell Beckham Jr. interacting with LSU student athletes and others unaffiliated with the team following the national championship game Monday night. Initial information suggested bills were exchanged and were novelty bills. Information and footage reviewed since shows apparent cash may have also been given to LSU student athletes. We were in contact with the NCAA and the SEC immediately upon learning of the situation in which some of our student athletes may have been placed in a compromising position. We are working with our student athletes, the NCAA and the SEC, in order to rectify the situation. So Odell had to have been just trashed.
Oh, the way he was acting.
The way he was acting, how he was talking. In the locker room after, of course, like Mike had said, he smacks the rear end of a security guard in the locker room. So the Browns then released this statement. We are aware of the incident and have been in touch with Odell and his representatives on the matter. They are cooperating with the proper authorities to appropriately address the situation since Odell has a warrant for his arrest right now.
That's just a joke.
So, yeah. I was going to have a headline for Antonio Brown, but he doesn't deserve to be on Twist. So that's what I got this week, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. On this day in sports, the 18th of January, 2020, In 1886, modern field hockey is born with the formation of the Hockey Association in England. 1896, first college basketball game with 5 players on each side is conducted by the University of Iowa. Invites student athletes from University of Chicago for an experimental game. Chicago beats Iowa 15-12. 15-12 in a 5-on-5 basketball game in 1896.
It's a barn burner. That's what we call it.
Wow.
It's a defensive struggle.
That's a game that will put you to sleep.
In 1938, pitcher Grover Cleveland Alexander is elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Grover.
1779, Peter Mark Roget, British lexicographer?
Lexicographer.
Oh, there's his 37 score shine.
34.
The thesaurus and inventor slide rule pocket chessboard. He was born. 2016, Johnny Bach, American basketball player and coach, dies at 91.
R.I.P.
1967, Barney Ross, welterweight champ, dies at 57. And in 1967, Reese Goose Tatum, basketball Harlem Globetrotters, dies at the young age of 45.
You know, you were talking about the score of the basketball game 5-on-5.
Sure.
Interesting thing about the first basketball game ever played, James Naismith.
Sure.
Final score was 1-0 because they used peach baskets, and then they didn't think about it till after the fact to actually put a hole in the bottom of the peach basket. They had to get a ladder to get the ball out.
Greg was actually there.
That's a fun fact. Oh, Greg.
We are ready for the College Football Playoff National Championship game presented by AT&T. A collision of unbeaten LSU, unbeaten Clemson. What a quarterback showcase. Trevor Lawrence, tall and tough and 25-0 as a college starter. Joe Burrow, the landslide winner of the Heisman Trophy, also perfect as a starter.
Number 1 LSU completed one of the most impressive seasons in college football history on Monday night, storming back from a first-half deficit to take down number 3 Clemson in the 2020 college football playoff. The 42-25 win for LSU was a fitting finale for the Heisman Trophy-winning Joe Burrow, who finished one of the greatest individual seasons of all time by shattering more records in that game that gave LSU its first national championship since 2007.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the game? Did you watch the game?
Yeah, and I thought the best part about it was that because it's so long from the end of the season, and then in this case, it was practically 2 weeks since the semifinals, is I love the fact that Joe Burrow came out and played the way he did. They didn't win despite him. They didn't lose the game. He had one of the greatest seasons a quarterback could ever have in college.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to play or he went to Ohio State, left to go to LSU, and just really put that exclamation point on the end of what was just an amazing season. Plus, I don't care where he coaches, I will always cheer for Ed Orgeron, who is the coolest coach and just belongs in the Bayou with that voice. So
I just like to see, here's some stat lines. Joe Burrow, 31 for 49, 463 yards passing, 5 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Trevor Lawrence, 18 for 37, 234 yards, no passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. So you just see the comparison, and I know Trevor's got one more year, and he'll still go probably number 1.
Yeah.
But just to see, Burrow said in all of his interviews, like, it's after wins, he would say, it's not about this win, it's about the main goal, which is the Natty. We want that trophy. That's been his goal, and to see him achieve it, and then to see the video clip of him smoking the cigar, just
classic.
like a boss, man. And it's sad that he's got to go to Cincinnati, but we'll see.
yeah, I also thought that one of the interesting things was that it is clear cut that Burrow will go to Cincinnati as the number 1 pick. And then you got to see who the next year's number 1 pick will be. Trevor Lawrence will go number 1 next year. This is the first game he's lost in college.
Yeah.
Sure. He was a true freshman, and as a sophomore, he has not lost a game. And he is prototypical. If you had to design the body of a quarterback, it would be Trevor Lawrence.
Minus the long hair.
Well,
Sunshining.
Being that size is what you want, and for him to be able to rush is that the future, I think, of football.
Sure.
So I think it was cool to see current and in future. So
with all the immobile quarterbacks in the NFL right now, to see two quarterbacks like them that can shift around and, with size, Lawrence had 10 rushing attempts, 49 and a touchdown, and Burrow's 14 attempts for 58 and a touchdown. What I like about Joe is when he sees the pressure, he can react, not necessarily run for it, but buy time to make a play. 463 yards and 5 touchdowns in the national championship is insane. He's undoubtedly the number one pick, and he just cemented it. I think when the game began, I was rooting for LSU. Mostly, I like Burrow. I'm not a big Lawrence fan. I think he is great. He will be the first overall pick next year.
Sure.
But we have Moss ties here. Straight cash, homie Thaddeus, who actually declared he's the 10th ranked tight end, according to the 4-letter network. So it was just it was Clemson right off the bat, and I thought, to be shutting off a game at, I think it started at 7?
Oh,
And, I had to, it was like 11:15, almost 11:30 when the game was over. So I think they need to tighten that up.
yeah, Dr. Pepper doesn't need an hour and a half of a halftime show.
No, I like Dr. Pepper, but come on. So fun game. Obviously, a lot of players that we'll see in the NFL here coming up in the next couple years. So we're going to do a review of the NFL games. Titans defeated.
No. Titans were. I'm sorry. I misheard.
cheese
I
and
misheard.
rice. Here we go.
My bad.
The Packer fans trying to. The Titans defeated the Ravens 28-12. Derrick Henry went 1 of 1 passing for 3 yards and a touchdown, and also 30 carries for 195 yards. No touchdown. Lamar Jackson, 31 of 59, 365 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 1 fumble. He did carry for 20 carries and 143 yards. So really, he was Lamar, except for he had 3 turnovers. Did you guys check that game out at all?
Yeah, and the thing I liked about it was you knew Derrick Henry was going to run, and he ran. And I was listening to the radio earlier this week, and they're saying how if you can stop Derrick Henry, at least hit him at the line of scrimmage, you can probably get him down, slow him down. But when he gets that burst of running, there's no stopping him.
No.
He is a freight train, and that's why watching the game, tomorrow, I want to see, because Kansas City doesn't actually have the greatest run defense, so he could run for 250 tomorrow.
Sure.
And then hold on the ball. But I think that he was an unbelievably gifted athlete for his size, and I think that he just out-toughed him.
Yeah. And I mean, not only that, but how much time he can eat up in a game when you're handing him the ball 30 times. But it's coming and you can't do anything about it.
And he proved it. He was the first player in NFL history to have 3 games of over 100 yards rushing.
But you even look at like his last 9 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's just
he had a phenomenal season.
Crazy. It's like the dude's a freak. He runs upright, almost like a Latavius, but he is a freak of nature, man.
Yeah, it was sad to see Lamar. Obviously, they're a high-flying offense, and I like to see that. Lamar did win me a ring over there. He helped give me a ring, right, Benz? And so I was rooting for him. I thought it'd be fun, but the Titans did defeat them.
Yeah.
The second game was the Chiefs defeating the Texans 51-31. The Texans went up 24-0 with the Chiefs firing back on a 41-0 run.
Oh.
Chiefs had 7 straight possessions with touchdowns.
He scored 28 points in the second quarter.
Yeah, you activate Patty Mahomes and it's a wrap.
I told you guys last week, and we both got that game. I think you picked against them because of it. And I said he's pissed. Even going down 24-0, it might have just been, the bye time or whatever off. But 321 yards and 5 touchdowns. He carried the ball 7 times for 53 yards. His best friend, Kelsey, 134 yards and 3 touchdowns. Deshaun wasn't bad. He played well, threw the ball 52 times for 388 and 2 touchdowns, also carried it for 37 yards and a touchdown. and DeAndre had 118 yards.
It was like the scene in Rocky IV when Apollo Creed is punching at Drago, punching him, and all of a sudden the trainer just puts his fist down and goes, now.
Yeah.
And then Drago just goes to town on him and just ends up killing him.
Yeah.
But it was because Matt and I were together Sunday early afternoon, and Matt said to me, he goes, hey, do you see the Texans are blowing out the Chiefs? And I said, look at your phone. It was all within like 10 real life minutes where they came back and they were up 24, or they came back to make it close within like 10 real life minutes, not game minutes.
Right.
Yeah. They scored like 21 points in 5 minutes, something like that. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you talk about a defense that's not very good. I mean, they went on a 41-0 run. So their defense locked them down while their offense put up all those numbers. So
Andy Reid, man.
that was a fun game. So the Green Bay Packers defeated the Seahawks.
Green what?
The Green Bay
Green Bay Packers? Yeah.
28-23. I couldn't believe Seattle didn't go for it on 4th and 8 with a little over 2 minutes. Greg and I talked about this a little bit. I know the field position wasn't that well, but you can't give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers with a lead with 2 minutes to go. It's like, what are you doing? And Pete Carroll stuck to it. He's like, no. What an idiot.
The best part about that game was with 4 minutes less to go in the game, and there were two situations, one where the Packers were on third and 9 and another time on 3rd and 8. And Aaron Rodgers threw two passes that most other quarterbacks wouldn't have even attempted, much less complete. One to Devontae Adams and one to Jimmy Graham. And it was like, that's why you never give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers, because he will attempt those passes, and more often than not, they will be completed.
Sure.
But you got to keep the ball out. Especially when you're the Seahawks and you have all these running backs like Marshawn Lynch, and you also have a quarterback who can run the ball. Don't ever give the ball.
And that's the thing, though, when you say all these running backs, they had Marshawn Lynch. That's it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
if you
12 carries for 26
Yeah,
yards. He can pound in. He did get 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Sure. But I mean, you're missing Chris Carson. You're missing Rashad Penny. They're banged up, man.
Yeah, but you also have Russell Wilson, who you can show pass.
Sure.
And then he can run, keep the ball.
Sure.
It's not like they needed to score on one play. They just need to keep the ball away from the Packers.
Yes.
But that was one of those games where, to be honest with you, at no point in the game did I think the Packers were always going to be worried. Just with the way they were playing. Like, even if they come back and they score, Aaron Rodgers is going to get the ball back, and he seems like he's got in that groove, which he wasn't in, week 12. He's just in a groove right now.
Well, speaking of the way they were playing, I have a game for Greg. We're going to get back to the Vikings and 49ers here in a second.
Game?
Cool, bro. You catch the game last night?
Oh, yeah.
Real great game. Yeah, too bad with the last quarter. Yeah, that was too bad.
Real bummer.
Hey, yeah, then with a little time left, we pulled it out.
Totally.
Yeah, only to lose it again in the last second. Such a disappointment.
It was a countdown.
Only to get it back.
Best day of my
Only
life.
to lose it.
Worst day of my life.
Only to get it back. Roller coaster of a game. Only to lose it again. What a game. Here we go. See you later.
How well did Greg watch the game? So, Greg, how many points did Green Bay score in the fourth quarter?
I had no idea this was going to happen.
Oh, come on.
For those that can't see right now, Mike has his hand on the wrong button.
I think the correct answer is 0.
That is correct.
Wow,
All
good
right.
job.
Good job, Greg.
We didn't have to.
Which team had more yards total in the game?
Oh, that was the Seahawks. It
That is correct.
was actually by a large margin.
You didn't give him any hard work there.
What? Who led with time of possession?
Oh, Packers. Oh. Okay.
Nope. And first downs.
First downs. I wish you would have asked me the conversion rate on third downs, because I know that was the Packers. I'm going to go with, I think it was the Packers. Really?
The crazy thing is the total yards, the time of possessions, and the first downs were all almost identical. Seattle 375, Green Bay 344. Time of possession, Seattle 30 minutes, 31 seconds. Green Bay 29 minutes, 29 seconds. First down, Seattle 23 to Green Bay's 22.
So essentially what Mike just played was a game of Greg flip a coin.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep. And you right now have 1-2 right and 1-2 wrong. So you're dead even. Green Bay had 5 sacks in the game. Who had the most?
Player?
Yep.
Smith.
Which Smith?
Was it Preston? I think Preston had more than. No.
What?
What? Is that what you're going with?
Yeah, I'm going with Preston.
If he would have just said Smith, he would have been
You
right.
told me which one.
Because the Smith brothers were tied. It was a trick question.
Well, I knew it was. That's why I said Smith.
No,
So
you didn't
what
know.
did
You
did
just said I think Preston had more.
because you said which one.
All right, so you got that one wrong.
Good job, Greg.
Do you even know who won the game?
Oh yeah, let me check.
Shout out to TJ commenting on the page here. Says Greg with the deep V neck.
Yeah,
right now.
deep
V.
That's a deep V.
medical scrubs because I'm going to work.
Yeah, he ain't.
So who won?
Who won the game?
Yeah.
I think the Packers did. That's right. They're playing tomorrow.
Good job, Greg.
So the Greg game
That was fun.
That was good.
evened it out.
Yeah, you didn't even put that on the
Nope.
the itinerary.
That
of
was
the
a
show.
last minute. Oh, the 49ers defeated the Vikings 27-10. Thoughts, fellas?
Got beat.
Yep.
Period. Everybody says, our offensive line is the reason why we lost, yada, yada, yada. But when you talk about offensive lines in the league and you talk about athletic quarterbacks, and not every team that is solid needs to have such a great offensive line. You're not going to find offensive linemen on the market that are affordable. People keep them if they're good. So you therefore have to draft them, which it's hard enough. I mean, we had Frank on. We couldn't get Frank. He didn't fall to us because
We did get Brian O'Neill that year, though.
correct. Yeah. But what I'm saying is you need to have an athletic quarterback that can make situations better than they actually are. Kirk is great, and everybody keeps saying, oh, you give him all this time and he'll be awesome. What quarterback gets all that time? And that's really something to think about. Also, just showing that San Fran's deep, man. They're deep, and they're healthy, and they're going to be real tough for anybody to beat. So we got Trump.
Yeah, I didn't think the game was out of hand. I thought that the Vikings did well. Like you said, San Francisco is just really healthy this time of the year. They played well. I really think that, the offensive line did show themselves because you have one of the top 3 running backs in the league in Dalvin Cook, and he just couldn't get it going. The same thing happened week 16 against Green Bay. When you get a team that knows you're going to run and can stop the run, you're going to, and it's not entirely on Kirk.
No.
Yeah, would it be nice if he could step up in the pocket every now and again and do the things that other quarterbacks just do naturally? Of course it is. But there are quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls that play exact same way as Kirk Cousins.
Sure.
You need more weapons that can adjust. And whether it's a tight end who can adjust at the line of scrimmage, a wide receiver, whatever the case is, they just need more weapons that are appropriate for the type of quarterback you have.
Well, not only that, and two, also to touch on, you saw some of the highlights from after the game. I think it was Sage Rosenfels shared them.
Mhm.
And, how Cousins had opportunities.
Mhm.
It's just that he gets so flustered some games.
Mhm.
Some games he doesn't. He'll have the same amount of pressure, but he's comfortable in the pocket, usually a noon game. But then you see him, he gets so jittery back there, and it's just the dump off to Dalvin when he has to make those Aaron Rodgers type throws where he just has to take a chance.
It would have been, it would be nice because you have receivers that are perfect to play with each other. You have the deep threat in Diggs, and you have that possession receiver in Thielen.
Sure.
And it was unfortunate that they couldn't get those two guys working in sync with Cousins.
Yeah.
Because if they could have done that earlier, I think that Dalvin Cook would have been more available. They would have had to spread out their defense.
All right, let's hear it.
What do you got?
God, I've been pissed off for a week.
And he got no carbs either.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
I got
carbs all week.
No
Vikings
carbs.
lost. I touched on it in the show last week that, yeah, it's going to be, try and get the run game going. Try being the focal point of that sentence.
Yeah.
My second one was you got to get the deep ball going. Our only touchdown in the game was a deep pass to Diggs. He's one of the best receivers in the league. When you throw the ball up in the air, he can go get it.
Yep.
That was the only other time we went deep. That one time. I also said when I was watching the game with a buddy of mine that we need to play this game like we're in a 2-minute offense in the shotgun and try and just beat these guys, spreading them out. Yep. We don't have an offensive line that can hold their 15 first-round picks back. We have to get Kirk some time. And all we kept doing was getting under the center, trying to run the ball. What Delvin have? 2 yards a carry?
Sure.
We never once just, it'd always be third down. Okay, now it's third down. We need to try and get this. So let's get back. Let's get in the shotgun. Let's try and get some time. I'm calling for Zimmer's head. I'm sick of it. I am. I'm sick of this old school Mike Zimmer football bullshit. I've had it. Yeah, I swore. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I'm pissed.
Emotion.
I posted something on Facebook and got into it with little people briefly. I said, let's bring in Byron Leftwich, Byron Leftwich. And the defensive coordinator from San Fran. We can keep defensive heavy. The trouble is our defense is about to be gone.
Sure.
We can't afford any of these people anymore.
Right.
This Mike Zimmer defense that he's compiled up for the past 2 years to try and win a Super Bowl, all our cornerbacks are basically going to be gone.
Yeah.
The people that we have locked in, Harrison Smith, Barr, Kendricks, Daniil Hunter, so some of your mainframes are here, but the rest of them are going to be gone. It's time now. Mike Zimmer has an excuse next year when they probably lock him in for a couple more years for an 8-8 season, for a subpar, mediocre shit of a season. I'm beyond pissed off that they didn't, they're off. And then Stefanski gets a job as a head coach right after. It's just like, goodbye. See you later. And they're just going to bring in another offensive coordinator to do the same Mike Zimmer football. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play defense.
Well, right. And that's the thing that they were talking about a lot on the radio is that, it's a tough job to come in and be an offensive coordinator for Mike Zimmer because Mike Zimmer wants you to do what Mike Zimmer wants you to do.
He's in your ear.
Yeah, constantly.
If you don't like it, you're fired.
You're Filippo'd.
You're Filippo'd. I love it.
And that's the exact thing. And that's the tough part about it. I like Zimmer, but unfortunately it's almost time to shuffle the deck, and he's not gone this year. So now you got to see what the front office can do in a crazy offseason because there are so many contracts that are up, so many needs, and what's the market going to look like? What's the draft going to look like? And that's the big thing. Can we draft well? Can we do something that we rarely do? We hit the money on some, but can we?
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I don't think Spielman and Zimmer should be married. They've been extending them here and there, like their lines. Spielman has done a great job drafting the players that we have, and Zimmer. But again, it's like, is he missing on these people that Zimmer necessarily wants? It's like cornerback first round. Defense. Spielman really being allowed to do what he was hired to do with a defensive-minded coach, where our defense, it's whatever. We're going to lose half of them. I'm talking about an offense that's high-flying that we already have with one of the not the best, but top 5, top 10 running backs in Delvin Cook, who was finally healthy for a majority of the season, who could sit out next year on a contract dispute.
Sure.
We had the 49ers who beat us with a running back by committee. So do we actually pay a guy like Delvin Cook or just slide into Alexander Madison, who could be a starting running back, in my opinion, easily in this league, but he's not some high-flying, Delvin Cook. You can't even get it done with a Diggs, a Thielen, a Rudolph, an Irv Smith, all these different things, and it's so stagnant and so disappointing. Oh, God.
Good vent.
Yeah, that was powerful.
I've been keeping it in for a week.
And wow, and you exploded.
And you twisted.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
Twist it. Good stuff.
Nice.
Let's hear it.
All right, we're at the picks. NFL picks. There's 3
Come
games remaining in the season. I'm hiding from them right now.
I think
The most impressive thing right now is in second place with 16 is a tie with me and Matt.
Wow. And I thought about that too, because Greg's picks last week, he's like boom, boom, boom. And then, oh man.
Mike has 19. Mike pretty much has it wrapped up. We're gonna make him pick first for the remaining 3 games.
That's fair.
So because Mike, all Mike has to do is just win one or have us not win one.
Correct.
But yeah, so a couple of interesting lines here. First of all, we have the Titans against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 7.5-point favorites. So for those of you playing at home, that's Chiefs minus 7.5. Michael.
Chiefs.
Matthew.
Titans.
I'm going to do the same.
Well, you have to.
We have
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Oh,
All right.
wonder like this.
This one's
I
going
need
to
a
hurt.
ring for that.
We have the Packers versus the 49ers. 49ers minus 7. Michael.
Niners.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. But part of it is so Greg can pick his team, but the other part is so Benz has to go green and gold.
That's unfortunate.
You doing it?
Yeah.
He has to.
What do you
What?
mean?
You know, I just didn't know if you were playing for second.
What did you wait? So let's hear that, Benz. Who do you got in that game?
Not San Francisco.
No, who do you
Good
got?
answer.
Matthew's taking the
Not
Packers.
the San Francisco tree.
Woo!
All right.
All right.
Well,
Whatever.
speaking of those, let's get back into it. We got the NFL championship games that we just made our picks on.
The best Sunday of the year.
Oh, it is a good Sunday. So first we got the Niners against the Packers, the top-seeded Niners, who beat our Vikings in the division round to reach their first NFC championship game since the 2013 season. We're going to draw a rematch no matter which team won Sunday's game in Green Bay. They'll get the number 2 seeded Packers, who may or may not have been the preference, considering San Fran obliterated them in Week 12. So, Greg, why don't you kick that game off since you're a Packer fan?
Week 12 was a long time ago. It's not going to be as ridiculous as it was back in Week 12, 38-7. I think that the 49ers played the best game that they did all year, and they had the Packers number, I'll admit it. Aaron Rodgers also admitted that what happened in that stretch of games is they played Week 11 in LA against the Chargers, had a bye week, and then played San Francisco, and a lot of the players stayed on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is from that area, and they may have not concentrated enough, to say the least. I think that what's going to happen in this game is I think that there's going to be a healthy dosage of Aaron Jones and dump off passes to Devontae Adams, and they're going to open up. They're going to do what the Vikings should have done, which is spread the ball possession. They're going to hold on to the ball, and they're going to be trying to get 15 yards, 10 yards. So what do you think?
I think that San Fran is going to get up early, and then Aaron Rodgers is going to have to win them the game. And you're not going to be able to run against those guys, dude. They are so beastly up front.
And they're amazing against the screen too.
Right.
So to think you're going to pound it and then short little dumps, if they lock those 2 players down, that's how Green Bay is going to win, is to get your MVSs and your other players. Devontae Adams, I don't.
Well, actually, in weekly fantasy, I did the one player that I put on my roster first was Allen Lazard. Sure. Because I think that if they win, I agree with you guys. If they win the game, it's going to be because of someone is going to have a couple of big plays. That's name isn't Devontae Adams. Or
I do
Aaron
have
Jones.
a question. So Richard Sherman is a one side of the field lockdown corner.
Yes.
Do the Packers just not put Adams on there? Because it's not like San Fran is going to shadow him. Richard Sherman's over here. Do they just decide, hey, Devontae Adams, you're playing away from him?
I think they're going to do both. I think that they're going to start off with him. I think they're going to start off with Adams on the same side as Sherman, just to see if he is going to play that lockdown or if they're going to play more of a zone. And if he does play lockdown man-to-man, I think that they're going to say, you know what, let's spread this out, because it's a lot different playing against Devontae Adams than it is playing against Allen Lazard.
Sure.
Because they're different types of receivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sherman isn't exactly 23 years old anymore. He's a very intelligent player. He knows how to play, but he did lose a step. That's why Seattle let him go.
Yeah.
You know, he's not that lockdown corner that he was. He's still above average.
Yeah.
But I think that they can find ways. But that's where it comes in to have a young guy like Matt LaFleur who has that whole Rolodex of plays.
Sure.
Is he going to be able to change things up midway through a game?
Oh, it's
When the
stressful.
Vikes and San Fran were playing and they were introducing the players, underneath it had their rankings.
Sure.
And I believe Richard Sherman was first.
Is what? I mean,
Like
first,
PFF?
Yeah.
that would surprise me because he's not even seen on their team as, you know, that lockdown guy that he was 5 years ago.
It's because nobody throws at their side.
Exactly.
They don't have an opportunity. So his name isn't there because nobody throws at him because he is still that player.
See, okay, I mean, if we'll see what happens. I have a lot of respect for him.
Sure.
I just don't think that he is what he was when he was with Seattle.
I think
Otherwise, they wouldn't let him go.
it's money. It's not just, hey, we don't like you. And
Really? Can you feel the tension in the air right now? I know I can. I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
my
All I can-
plums.
We're like 40 minutes into the episode, 45 minutes in the episode. You've been waiting that long to play that
Oh,
one.
I haven't been waiting anything. I was waiting for a little tension, a little heat to
And
arise.
it didn't happen when you were talking about the Vikings.
Can
game?
feel it all the way in my plums.
I'm going to tell you right now, Greg, if you think that Green Bay is going to try to do exactly what the Vikings tried to do,
Should have done. I don't know if they tried to. They should have done it.
we tried to. We tried to run
We
the
didn't
rock.
try to do anything.
We tried to run the rock and we tried the screen game. They both got crapped upon and burned in the nearest garbage can.
I know you don't want to hear this, but there's a big difference between having Aaron Rodgers and having Kirk Cousins.
I don't want to hear it.
That's something I don't want to hear.
The AFC Championship game. Number 6, Tennessee Titans at the number 2, Kansas City Chiefs.
What up, Chiefs?
3:05 on CBS. Kansas City will host the Tennessee Titans in a surprising matchup. The Chiefs needed the postseason's most explosive performance to get to this point, rallying to beat the Texans 51-31 in the division round after falling behind 24-0. That game featured the most first-half points in postseason history, and Kansas City became the first team to score 30 points in these playoffs before the third quarter had even ended. The Titans advanced to the AFC title game after 2 shocking road upsets, beating the Patriots and the Ravens, who had the NFL's best record in the regular season. Tennessee has relied on brilliant running back Derrick Henry, we talked about this, who has 377 rushing yards in 2 playoff wins and more rushing yards through his first 4 playoff games than any other back in NFL history. You wonder why the Titans are in the playoffs playing in the AFC Championship game? That is why. The Titans are trying to become the first number 6 seed in the Super Bowl since Green Bay after the 2010 season. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So the segment before this, we pick winners based on the spread.
Sure.
Minus and one. There also is what's called the over-under for those of you who don't know, which is the total points of a game. In this game, it's 47 points. So you take the total of both teams. Is it over or under 47? I would take the over in a second in this game because I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do that on their own. I think that they're going to have another explosive game. I think that they have 5 offensive weapons that you can't. I don't care what kind of defense you are. You can't stop all of them.
A Vrabel defense, though, is
That's
nasty.
true.
And that's what I'm saying, man. He Belichick.
Oh, that was
And,
great.
you know, not only that, it's just, it's tough, man, because I'm telling you right now that if Tennessee would have had the lead like Houston did, they would have won. Because you got a cowbell.
Yeah.
You're taking away that opportunity for a big comeback because he eats up so much time. He's going to get his. It's going to be tough. But if KC starts exactly how they finished, there's no way. No team will beat Kansas City if they do what they were doing.
Yeah, I just think that it's gonna be interesting, but I would be very surprised.
Yeah.
I don't care what kind of defense you have if you can stop all of Patrick Mahomes' weapons.
Sure.
You know, so
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's going to be fun. I always like seeing Pat Mahomes, so I just love football.
how much would State Farm love it if it was the Packers?
I was thinking that too.
Against the Chiefs.
Oh, they would throw so many commercials out there. It'd be ridiculous.
All right. The next segment we have is player to watch. We didn't get to it last week because we had a guest that was a lot more important than player to watch.
He was the guy to watch. Chuck Foreman, number
Chuck
44.
Foreman. Yeah, I'll move off to the side when Chuck Foreman comes on.
Yeah.
But what I would have said was which AFC quarterback was going to come in and take that role, because since the 2003 Super Bowl, there's only been one Super Bowl that featured an AFC quarterback name wasn't Roethlisberger, Brady, or Manning, and that was 2014 with Flacco.
That's crazy.
So who's going to be the next one to come in? And it obviously turned out to be Patrick Mahomes. Stepped aside, just stepped ahead of everyone else.
Sure.
And the player to watch this week, I think it's pretty obvious. It's Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not saying this from the side. No, I'm saying
It's pretty obvious, he says.
will he make up for the worst professional performance of his life back in week 12? Can he come back and actually be a professional? It was a long time ago. But will he come back and beat Aaron Rodgers?
Well, that's a great player to watch. Thanks, Greg.
Who do you want me to pick? Garoppolo? Who cares? Garoppolo's a top 15 maybe quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is going to the Hall of Fame.
All right.
He is. I would absolutely say it's Pat Mahomes. You talked about these quarterbacks who are super long in the tooth who aren't here. Pat Mahomes is the future of the NFL.
Yeah.
Last year, he obviously won MVP, threw for 50 touchdowns in his rookie year, threw for half this year at 25, which obviously isn't bad. I think Brady probably didn't even hit.
Hurt.
Well,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
and that was part of my point.
Yeah.
He's still this polarizing figure. He got hurt, and I think people I talked about this last week. Lamar Jackson just had this season that nobody saw coming, number one, and that's why it made it, so fun to watch. And number two, just because he learned how to pass the ball. Yeah, he ran for 1,200 yards, but he also threw for 35 touchdowns.
Right.
You don't do that just being a running quarterback. He spent a lot of time this offseason learning how to be a quarterback and not a running back throwing the ball. So, again, Pat Mahomes was overshadowed quite a bit and came back and obviously has proved to us, at least last week that he's ready. So I really want to see them win. I'm betting on it. I for sure think they will. And, man, if Green Bay wins, I'm not watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest game, I won't watch it.
Yeah,
So
you
maybe
will.
dancing. No, I won't.
The Masked Singer's on after.
What I will do is I'll record it so then I can fast forward through the game and I can watch the commercials.
There you go.
And I'll still make food, no
Of
carb
course.
food.
No carbs.
Yep, none of
Do you
that.
realize if the Packers win tomorrow, I won't sleep for 2 weeks?
Good.
Shout out Taylor Schmidt, who is really motivating Mike to lose some LBs. So he's going to fit into that suit on my wedding day, so believe it.
Well, I can fit into whatever suit, but
Oh.
not the one she wants me in.
Well, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, by the way, I'm going to have to tie all your ties. So I don't think any of you guys know how to tie a tie.
I don't know how to tie a tie.
Welcome to 2020, Greg.
It's not a clip-on or what?
There's got to be a tie that just ties itself.
Should have been one of the Wonderlic questions. Do you know how to tie a tie?
Yeah.
My favorite song.
Well, I'll tell you a story about some sorry old folks way up Wisconsin way. Yeah, they're all a bunch of boozers and they're all a bunch of losers. Yeah, I'm talking about old Green Bay. And I'm telling you, son, there ain't nothing sadder than the boys in the yellow and green. In fact, they're kind of bringing a whole new meaning to being on the special team.
So I wanted to play that for Greg. We do have a second guest. We're going to give him a call right now. It's Greg Zeidel.
The head cheese himself.
Hello.
Dave, how are you?
Hey, what's going on?
So we got Dave Sinykin on the air, host of Packer Preview and In the Zone that was on this morning with Double T Trent Tucker, both of which are on KFAN, FM 100.3. Find him on Twitter at TCHeadCheese, and his website is theheadcheese.com. So Jackson win his game. Is that who is playing today?
Yeah, I got a little tournament out at Mount West Tonka High School. 1 game down, 2 games to go.
Right on. There you go.
That must be some fun driving.
Yeah, believe it.
Absolutely.
So, Dave, leading up to this, when Mike let us know that you were coming on the show, Greg, who's obviously Green Bay Greg, he's on our show here. He was so ecstatic, like a little boy, like, oh my gosh, I've never been this excited, and I'll let him.
Which is funny because I'm 6'4", 200 pounds,
Yeah.
and you refer to me as a little boy.
Yeah.
Exactly. He went back to his childhood.
So I want to ask, why don't you guys just take a break and let the adults talk here for a second?
Oh, here we go.
Dave, thanks. One question I did want to ask you, because it's something that I talk about all the time to Viking fans. The Packers needed their rock bottom to become the team that they are, and that was, I think, and I want to know what your opinion on this, when they drafted Tony Mandarich back in the early 90s. It was the only player in the top 5 of that draft that turned out to be a bust. It forced the Packers to rebuild their entire franchise, bringing in Ron Wolf, then Holmgren, then Favre, then Reggie White, and that turned them into the dynasty that they are. Do you agree with me that it took that rock bottom moment to rebuild the franchise?
Well, I never thought about it that way. I mean, I've thought about that draft a lot because of all the Hall of Famers that went before and after Tony Mandarich. But, yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. I mean, generally, you wait 3, 4, 5 years till you know how a draft pick works. But we knew pretty quickly that Mandarich was a fraud, and they had a whole lot of work cut out for them. So, yeah, maybe that was a turning point. I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, and I appreciate you answering that, because it's just been something that, Viking fans that are kind of, these guys are now stuck in that whole limbo of we're too good to rebuild and we're not good enough to win the Super Bowl. So I just thought that, and I'm 43 years old, so I still remember the Packers playing games at Milwaukee County Stadium.
Right.
So it took that. But talking about tomorrow's game, what I really want to know from you is, do you think that Week 12 was an aberration and this is going to be, win or lose, just a lot better game from Aaron Rodgers to Aaron Jones to the defense being able to step up?
Well, I think you talk about turning points. I think that loss was a turning point for the Packers defense, because the narrative through the first 12 games was they rushed the passer, they turned the ball over a little bit. They're pretty good in the red zone, but they give up lots of explosive plays. And they gave up 2 really big ones in that game. And ever since then, they've really tightened up the big plays. And they had a players-only meeting after that day, and they really tried to figure out who they wanted to be on defense. So I think that was a turning point game. Look, a lot went wrong that game, right? Rodgers with the strip sack inside the 10-yard line, Bulaga going down, and nobody on the roster to replace him at that time. And after the defense held them to a few field goals, they gave up a couple big plays, and that blew the game open. And so, yeah, there have been 2 really bad games for this team this year, the Niner game, the Charger game. But every other game, they found themselves either, on the right side of things or right there at the end for a close loss. So I feel like things really turned after that game. But that said, the Niners roster, top to bottom, is still a lot stronger than Green Bay's, and I think a lot has to go right for the Packers tomorrow for them to flip the script.
Yeah, thanks. I completely agree with you. And what I honestly think it's going to take is it's going to be one of those lesser-known players that's going to have to step up and have, the game of their life. And I was talking earlier in our show about Alan Lazard coming out, someone like him, because they're going to be covering Adams. Aaron Jones, like you said, the 49ers have an amazing, front line. So it's got to be, someone stepping up. And is there a player that wouldn't be, the obvious Adams or Jones that you'll be watching for?
Well, I think those guys need to have big games for Green Bay to be in this game. But, I look at weird names like Tyler Ervin, the returner who ran a couple plays last week against Seattle on jet sweeps. Jace Sternberger, the rookie tight end, got, I think, 20 snaps last week. And maybe he's a guy that they run some plays for. But I really think as not just a player, I think Green Bay has to be as good on third down as they were last week. As you know, Greg, they were 1-15 in that first 49ers game. Last week, Rodgers was 9 for 9 on third down. He needs to be similarly strong on third down this week, because that defense is so legit, and they can wreck a drive so quickly that Rodgers just needs to be razor sharp. No matter who he finds, they've got to convert third downs somehow.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So I know you do a lot of feasts. This is Mike here, Sir Miking. Greg and I actually attended the the Friday football feast last year. It was the Viking-Packer game. You remember which one that was at, Greg?
That was Roseville.
Roseville. And so we were first in line. So we had the front seat at the table right across from you. Greg was in a Green Bay kilt and a cheese head, and I had my fur Vikings horns and purple Viking jacket and yellow pants. Greg still wears that shirt you gave him last year. He wore it last week on the
Probably wears it to bed, Dave.
I do.
I love it.
Yeah, it was funny because when you walked in, when PA was introducing you, I stood up, and the first thing you did was see me throw me a shirt and be like, "Well, you got to get one," because I look like a goat.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah,
I don't usually find too many friends at those feasts, so we got a bond for sure.
yeah. There was, and actually, that was the only 15 minutes of that entire show that I was well received. Whether it was PA was ripping on me or the rest of the audience, but yeah, I appreciated that 15 minutes.
So, Dave, a big question for you then tomorrow. What's your biggest worry as a Packer fan? Is it going to be San Fran's defense, or is it going to be San Fran's running game?
Yeah, it's the running game for me. I'm really curious to see how far the Pack's defense has progressed since the first meeting. We know they've tightened up, but we also know that the competition hasn't been great. Redskins, Giants, the 3 division games, and then the Seattle game. The Vikings obviously didn't have Cook or Madison in that game. So I'm really curious to see how this defense handles the run, because if they're getting 6, 7, 8 yards on first down, then Garoppolo's job is so much easier. But if they can stuff those runs a bit, put Garoppolo into 2nd and 12, 3rd and 8, then you got a chance to pin your ears back and go after them and force them into some mistakes. So for me, it's all about stopping the run. I worry about Raheem Mostert. I think that kid's really good.
Yeah.
Coleman between the tackles and as a receiver. So that's where it is for me, slowing down that running game and forcing Garoppolo to have to make plays.
So what's your final?
Well, the way I got it is I've got San Francisco leading most of the way, Packers staying within shouting distance, and then, it's 26-21, something like that late, and Rodgers has to engineer one touchdown drive to win it.
Sure.
And after the last 2 NFC title games that have gone the other way, I think it's Rodgers' time to shock the world and get the Pack back to the promised land.
Oh,
well, that's all I needed to hear.
yeah,
Oh,
whatever.
man, that gives me a stomach ache, but I appreciate your honesty.
So being a big Packer fan, we know that obviously, but you are a host other than Packer Preview on In the Zone, which I was listening to this morning. So you're not just Packer. I do want to get your thoughts on, what the Vikings are going to do this offseason. It's going to be a big shakeup on the roster. So just wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a tough spot. I mean, they've got some really great young and, veteran defensive pieces that we know will be back, right? We know Hunter's back. We know that those linebackers are back and Harrison Smith's back. I'd imagine they'll find a way to pay Anthony Harris, but I think they're going to have to part ways with guys like Joseph and Rhodes and maybe Waynes and McKenzie. And so they're going to have a turnover, and they're going to need some of those young guys to step up into those places. But for me, it's all about the offensive line. And if they move on from Reese and Elfline, they've got to remake the left side of that line. Hope their center takes a big step forward. Because offensively, unless they move on from Diggs, I mean, I think you know what you got. You've got Cousins, you've got Cook and Madison, you got those 2 receivers, you got those 2 tight ends. They've got to find out a way to get a whole lot better up front. Because if that offensive line is not any better than it was this year, well, I don't see how they have a future that's any better than what happened this year either.
Yeah, we don't. I just went on a 10-minute rant a few minutes before we called you. I've been holding it in for a week, just how pissed off I was by that game. I'm calling for everybody's heads. I don't care. I said it from the beginning that the Vikings needed to play a 2-minute offense out of the shotgun. You can try and get the run going, but it's about the deep game. I think early on they saw that the running game was just not going to work, and to have Cousins just under the center with 0 time against 25 first-round picks was ridiculous. And the fact that Stefanski got a job, good for him, because I'm glad you're out. But that game plan, to me, was just horrible. And being a huge Vikings fan that I am, I just thought we had a chance if the coaching staff actually had a scheme for the players to win the game. And I think the coaching staff lost.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I think the problem was when you signed Cousins, you knew what you had. You had a very immobile quarterback, and you didn't have an offensive line that was going to give him a chance to stand back there and do what he likes to do. And I just feel like they don't have the right line for that quarterback's talent. And, in retrospect, they should have tried to find a guy that can move around a little bit, who isn't reliant on the pocket. And, I don't think the coaches did a great job last week. I was stunned, though, that they couldn't get that running game going at all. And that does concern me tomorrow for my team as well.
Yeah.
So one more question from me. I would love to know how a Packers show got approved to go on a Vikings radio network.
Yeah, so here's the story. I moved here from Chicago late in '94 and hooked up with the fan right away, doing updates, and they were looking for guys that had been in radio before, which I had. And that summer in '95, they greenlighted Trent and I to start in the zone. So we started around Memorial Day weekend and had our little Sunday morning show at the time. And I pitched the idea that summer and said, hey, I'm a big Packer fan, and, why not have a Packer show on Sunday mornings? And they looked at me and said, hey, we're the home of the Vikings. There's no chance in hell that we're putting a Packer show on our station. And I said, all right, I get it, but just keep it, in the back pocket. And after '95, the Vikings left the fan and went to CCO for 5 years. So in '96, I said again, hey, you're not the Viking station anymore. And so they said, you know what, we're going to give you Sundays at 9 a.m. and we'll let you do your thing. And all those guys that want to talk Packers during the week, we can shut them out and say, call Dave Sundays at 9.
Sure.
So they greenlighted me in '96. Packers won the Super Bowl that first year, which was a beautiful thing. And we kept going. And then 5 years later, the fan got the Vikings back. But by then, we had a nice following. And they said, you know what, we're going to keep you on, but we're going to move you back to 8 o'clock. So there's an hour of buffer time before Vikings pregame at 10.
Sure.
So for about 15 years there, I had the 8 o'clock slot. And then when the fan got the Gophers football rights 4 or 5 years ago, that's when they pushed me back to 7 o'clock because they promised the Gophers a Sunday morning post-game show on Sundays. So here I sit, 7 a.m. Sundays, 24 years later, and at least technology's cut up to a point where people don't have to listen to me live. They can find it whenever they wake up and listen then.
Us diehards are up at 7 at Sundays, though. So you do have your diehards.
Well, we appreciate you coming on.
I'm getting up early for no reason.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on and being a guest, and hopefully next season when the Vikes and Pack, when we have our border battle, we can have you on again.
Hey, my pleasure, guys, anytime. And if the Packers shock the world tomorrow, I'll be in Miami in 2 weeks and happy to talk to you that weekend too.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Dave.
All right, thanks a lot.
Take it easy, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
bud.
Wow. So,
Oh.
Greg, I just how are you feeling?
It's
He's speechless for
well,
once.
it's great because the question I asked him was something that I've always wanted to ask the diehard Packer fan followers, because I think it's the difference between, if we could have drafted Barry Sanders, what would we have been? 8-8 for 20 years. So it's I really wanted to ask him that question. I didn't think that when we were at the feast it was the appropriate time because he was busy, but I really wanted to ask him that, and I love the fact that he validated that there is there's validity behind it. Sure. You had to hit rock bottom to come back. But yeah, that was great. That was a great exchange. I really enjoyed it.
That's plenty of Packer stuff for today. That was great. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Frank. First of all, before we end the show, a shout out to the people that shared our episode from last week. I didn't write them down or bring them with me, but we've got Nicole, Taylor, TJ, Chris, Carrie. And if I forgot about you, I'm sorry.
Mama
Benz, of course. Mama Benz, thanks for the
look at that
sleeve tees.
Yep, she got them for Greg and I, but we didn't wear them today. We got them right over there.
We appreciate all the support that we're getting. We appreciate all the people that are coming on in the future. We're just blessed. So with that, Thank
Yeah,
you
we
all.
we have guest interviews lined up, just like the 2 you heard today, booked through the first week of April.
Yeah.
So thank you for all the love. Keep watching. Episode 7.
Go Pack, go.
No.
Twist it.